Back at it again with my favorite video. Welcome back to my favorite videos to film, which is reading wrap-ups. So let's get started. I want to chat to you all about August because dang, August really hit me. It was epic. So let's chat about it. My month just kind of vibed, okay? So at the beginning of my month, I really started out with a romance binge. And as the month progressed, I was like, you know what? I'm really over these romance tropes. Give me some murder. Give me some anticipation. Throw me in the opposite direction. So I jumped into some pretty epic thrillers. The first book I read this month was Swear on My Life, or Swear on This Life by Renee Carlino. If you watched my last reading wrap up, I really got into Renee Carlino and read one of her books last month, and I just loved it. And I've loved every book I've read by her, so I needed to add a couple into this month. So I started with Swear on This Life. And essentially in this book, the main character, Emmeline, I hate when authors use weird names, like just use a normal name. Anyways, the main character is kind of a little bit sad. She's not in a great relationship currently, and her best friend is like reading a book because they're both like in university and aspiring authors. So she's reading this book and she's like, girl, you gotta check this out. One, the author is extremely hot, and two, this book is amazing. I couldn't put it down and it made me cry. So she picks it up and she starts reading it, and she basically is reading a story about her own life. So she's all of a sudden like terrified. Basically, her childhood lover is writing a story from her point of view about her childhood and their past and what happened, and she is mortified. And well, the story is very impactful, and they didn't grow up in the best situation. So him writing from her point of view is very interesting. She's unpacking her past that she's tried to avoid until now all over again. And the reason that her and this guy, who are childhood lovers, got pulled apart is so sad. I almost cried in this book, and it was just so good. I loved it, and I know a lot of people love this book, so I recommend. It's worth the hype, seriously. And it's just so cute and sad at the same time, and well done. If you love reading about people who write books in books, or people who love books in books, then you'll love this book as well. So highly recommend. Oh, I also rated that one 5 stars. The next book I read in August was Nowhere But Here by Renee Carlino. This one I did not love as much as the previous Renee Carlino book. This one I gave 3 stars. Essentially, this girl is going through a breakup and she works at a publishing firm. Renee just loves writing about people who like are in writing, which I appreciate. But anyways, this girl works at a publishing firm. She hasn't been writing anything very good there and has been stuck on like shitty articles. And her boss gives her a great opportunity to go to a winery and write about the guy who owns this winery, who has been kind of in hiding, and people want to know like the inside scoop. So although she's there to write about the winery, her boss is like, give me the deets on this guy while you're there. So she goes there, tries to get the deets, but ends up kind of falling in love with someone who works there. And let's just say a twist happens, and who you think they should be is not who they actually are. And well, it's just a lot of fun. So it was cute, but also a little cheesy, and I knew the twist pretty quickly, so I was just kind of like, let's get to it already. A little bit of miscommunication, which drove me a little bit mad, because you know me, romance and miscommunication is not my vibe. So that kind of drove me mad, which is why it was more of a 3-star. Good book, just not a 5-star. You know, you feel? Next thing I did in April was go down my thriller spiral, and I'm here to stay. I'm gonna be reading thrillers for a while now because I'm obsessed. Especially because I read this book, which is a 5-star read for me, and honestly, dare I say it, my favorite read from this year so far. So that's saying a lot, okay? And the book is Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister, and it was so good. So good. I'm telling you, if you want to read a thriller, please pick this one up. It is so good. So good. Can I say that 8 more times? It's so good. All right. Anyways, the story follows a mother who, this is a spoiler, it happens right at the beginning, and I think it's on the back of the book. But the mother witnesses her son killing someone else, and that's how it starts, okay? She witnesses her son killing someone. And the next morning when she wakes up, she teleports back a day. So she starts at the day before her son killed someone. Then when she falls asleep again, she goes back again and again and again. So we're going back in time with this novel, and the jumps are for a reason. So every place that she jumps to is her figuring out what happened, how this is occurring, why is her son trying to kill someone. And there are so many twists in this book that are so good. I love it. I love when a twist actually was unpredictable. Everyone's kind of in the loop here, and it's just so interesting that she was so naive about this entire thing, but also how well everyone is at hiding themselves, including her too. So anyways, really impactful thriller, and I highly recommend. So pick this up. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. Unless you really don't like time zone changes in books, then maybe you will be. But it's worth it, okay? It's worth it. The next book I read, of course, was another thriller, and it is Stay Awake by Megan Golden. So I'm pretty sure that's how you'd say it. This was also very good. I gave this one a 4-star. To give you a backstory on this novel, essentially every time the main character falls asleep, she forgets everything that happened to her in the last basically 2 years. So she can only remember her life starting 2 years back and everything that happened before that. But from 2 years ago up until now, she forgets it all. And yeah, every time she falls asleep, she forgets. There's a little bit more here. There's a little bit more. Someone is trying to catch her. So imagine being at such a disadvantage that you're not only running away from a murderer, but you're running away from a murderer that you don't even remember is chasing you every time you fall asleep. So that's not fun. Would not recommend, you know? Anyway, also about this novel is she writes on her hands, stay awake and all these messages. So every time she wakes up, she's like, why is my hand telling me to stay awake? Why is it telling me not to trust anyone? Why is it telling me? It's pretty interesting. Do I think the twists were unpredictable? Not necessarily, but I was very intrigued the entire time with why she couldn't keep her memory. So that was fun. And I haven't seen a character like that in any thriller book before, so it was unique. So it was entertaining. On to a thriller book which had a character that was not unique and not entertaining, was The House Across the Lake. This book is everywhere on YouTube right now and Instagram, and I don't understand why. I don't understand it. This book either gets a 5-star from people or a 1-star, and I'm here to tell you it is a 1-star, and I do not understand the people who keep giving this 5 stars. I mean, all to yourself, you know, all to yourself, all tis yourself. No, you know, whatever you feel, you can feel, is what I'm trying to say, I think. Anyway, I gave this a 1-star because of a couple reasons. I basically felt like, you know what? I felt like when you fall asleep while you're watching a movie, and then you wake up halfway through and you're like, you feel like you've been thrown into a completely different movie. That's how this book felt. I feel like the entire second half of this book did not match the first half of this book, and the first half of the book was interesting to me. You know, it was a classic plot with a classic main character, but I could have vibed with it. I could have vibed with one like simple little twist and it would have been maybe a solid 3 stars for me. But the twist at the end was so far-fetched, and I also am like a horror movie junkie, so some scenes didn't really match what typically happens if you are to be, I don't want to give it away, but if you've read the book, I think you know where I'm getting at. So it just didn't match. It didn't correlate to what typically would happen to you. That makes sense. And you know, I'm so over the drunk main character trope. Like, is the main character really seeing the things she's seeing, or is she just drunk? I hate that trope. Like, let's get over it, you know? I'm so tired of just thinking this character is losing her mind because she's drunk. And why is it always females? Can we not? Anyway. And then I was reading reviews about this, and someone in Goodreads, I thought it was hilarious. She was like, Riley Sager must know nothing about females, because there's one scene where he's like, oh, this must be a clue. She wasn't wearing her ring when she was swimming in the pond or the lake. And it's like, dude, obviously most women take off their rings when they're about to go swim in a lake. Like, they wouldn't keep their wedding ring on and potentially lose it in the lake. Like, come on now. And I just feel like that was such a vibe with the story. There's so many random loose ends that just didn't make sense, which were bothering me. And there were so many lulls. And then once we got to the good part, you know, the twists were like so out of left field. It was not even fun. It was laughable, honestly. But you know, if you loved it, don't hate me. You loved it because you loved it, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. But for me, it was not the thriller for me. It was not the thriller for me. I had a way better time reading Stay Awake and Wrong Places, Wrong Time. And you know what? Maybe my low rating also has to do with me reading 2 extremely good thriller books and coming to then a mediocre one. It just felt less than mediocre once I got there, you know? Anyway, I guess I saved the worst for last because that's all the books I read in August, and thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you guys in the next one, but until then, bye!